Big treat today. Gonna give you some brisket, and first things first, we're gonna start with what brisket do you buy, because that matters more than really how you prepare it. How you prepare it does matter, but buying your brisket is what matters the most. This is a all natural. It costs more. It's trimmed. See that? That's exposed. This is USDA Prime, which is a grade higher than Choice. $3.49 a pound. Brisket whole. Packer style. Look at all that fat. Our rule of thumb with brisket: don't buy trimmed briskets. Keep all the fat on them you can. The internal fat also matters. So we call this marbling. I don't know how many of you folks out there really understand meat science. Marbling is the fat that's inside the meat, and that is graded. And we have basically 4 grades. We have the standard, which is the least amount of marbling, and then we have select and choice and prime. Essentially, prime is the most marbling, and that is what we need to be buying when we're in the store. Once you buy the right brisket, the rest of this gets real easy. So we have a USDA Prime Packer style brisket. Packer style means it has not been trimmed. Notice we have all this fat here.
Why do you not want it trimmed, honey? Well, you're just showing me in all my swim glory.
You don't want to trim the fat off because that's trimming off flavor. So essentially, we're going to take our Brisket Magic from Chupacabra, and we're going to cover this thing in this Brisket Magic top and bottom. We're going to flip it over and cover it there too. So we put our Brisket Magic on. We'll flip this puppy over now. So that's what it looks like. This is going to be a 12-hour smoke. Okay, so I did a preheat sequence on this Traeger where I took it to 350 degrees because I wanted to sterilize the chamber. We always want to knock all the critters out of our chamber before we put our meat in. Don't ever put a piece of meat in a cold chamber because bacteria is growing in there. So now I've got our temperature back down to about 255. And I'm going to take this big hunk of meat right here and I'm going to put it on there. Now I'm going to put the bigger chunk towards the hotter side. I have a hotter side on the right of my Traeger. This side's always hotter. So I keep it the thicker part over here. So if you look at the dial, it's set on smoke. (8:37 a.m.) Check this out. We're going to move this into here now. Now, could we cut this right now and eat it? Yeah, probably. I hate sliced brisket. I would much rather eat my brisket the way that I eat pulled pork. So this is where I deviate a little bit from how everybody else does brisket. So I'm going to put a couple Dr. Peppers in this. I'm going to throw it into the oven at 250 after I cover it, and then we're going to let this finish in the oven. We got a lean on this table here. So I got 3 Dr. Peppers in there. I'm gonna go shiny side down and use thick foil. Pitmaster's Choice is really thick. Keeps the heat bound in there a lot better. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna break this thing down now where it'll fall apart on us. And that's what we're looking for with brisket anyway. We're looking for really fall apart tenderness. But you know, hey, have at it. If you want to slice this thing up and serve it sliced, get after it. But that ain't how I do it. So we now have 6 hours in the oven completed on this brisket at 250 degrees. So that's a total of 18 hours. So we did 12 hours in the Traeger overnight at 200 degrees or 225, and then 6 hours at 250 in the oven with Dr. Pepper in a sealed foil container. So let's have a look. So we got a lot of fat on this brisket. If you remember, buying a real fatty brisket, not a trimmed one, is the best way to have a really good result. So as we dig into this thing, we can see we've maintained a massive degree of moisture inside this brisket. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut all of this fat off. This is all going to get chopped off and discarded. And then I'm going to chop this brisket so that I can use it for breakfast tacos. I can reheat it on the griddle outside with a little barbecue sauce anytime that I'd like, and just eat it, you know, by itself with a little barbecue sauce. There's a lot of different ways to eat it. I don't really prefer eating it chopped or eating it sliced, but you know, that's me. So if there's any of you that don't like to see cooked animal fat, I get it. Turn your eyes away for a moment because I have to show you something. This is a 32-ounce cup that is full of nothing but fat that I've pulled off the top of this brisket. But if you see here, now I'm left with all this lean meat, and you can see how crusty this is right through here. We got that crust because we did a 12-hour smoke in the Traeger instead of doing, you know, a 5 or 6 hour smoke. So we doubled our smoke time, and like I said before, we were at 200 to 225 all night. Sometimes we got up to like 240. Sometimes we got as low as 180 when I checked it. So I did have to you know, regularly check my Traeger because it'll porpoise up and down in temperature, specifically when it's cooling down here at night. So anyway, here's a couple of pieces of lean. I'm going to go ahead and start pulling this down and chopping it up, and I'll show you some more. So notice that the grain of this is moving this way, and I'm cutting against that grain. And this is the texture that we're getting. This is a very moist, very tender, full of flavor brisket, and you will love it. The key, again, I can't stress enough, all of this happens because of the kind of brisket, the grade of brisket that you buy, and the brisket not being trimmed. Anytime you start trimming fat off, or you buy a low-grade brisket with not a whole lot of marbling in it, you know, USDA choice or better is what you want. Choice or prime. Certified Angus beef also works. You're going to get more marbling, and you're going to get this wonderful texture. And see this smoke ring in here? Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. So this is how we roll here in the Whitaker house. We're going to save this brisket in a bowl that we can seal up with a lid, and then we can put this in the refrigerator And then anytime, this is something that, you know, Holly and I will be eating on this over the next few days. Like I said earlier, you know, to reheat it, I always like to go to the griddle top with just a little bit of barbecue sauce, maybe not a whole lot, just a little, couple tablespoons of barbecue sauce in one serving. Put it on the griddle, get it nice and hot, or you can put it in a pan if you don't have a griddle, and you know, get it reheated. This juice, we're going to take some of that. We're going to take about a cup of this juice and put it in here. Maybe it could be as much as 2 cups. But we're also going to make sure that the juice stays with it when we go into the fridge. So this is a great way to have really good brisket available to you to take to an event, or you can just munch on it, you know, for the next few days, take it to work with you, whatever. So we're going to get down into the flat brisket, and this is the lower part, the part that's face down. It's the leaner part, and you can see how the grain runs with these muscle fibers. So we'll peel this away here and show you that it's consistently that way all the way across. And what we're going to do is I pulled the first piece out, and we got to see how the grain runs. And then we're going to cut across the grain like we did on the others. Okay, this is another layer of fat here. We can pull that off, separate it out. We don't want to eat that. I'm fat enough, I don't need any more. And we'll just continually cut, you know, teaspoon size, tablespoon size chunks against the grain. That's how that works, y'all. And see the texture we get in that? That's nice and tender. So this is what we yielded. 3 containers worth of good meat, and you know, some of that's going to go to some family, and the rest of it Holly and I are going to eat with some friends, and there you go. Thank you very much for watching. You're going to enjoy your brisket if you do it right. If you have to keep coming back to this video just to make sure you're doing it right, that's why I do this. So any other special requests, let me know. But y'all have a good one.